Now, Felix Wright. Where would you say your inspiration for the lead character comes mostly from?
I am a self-revealing poet. So a lot of the inspiration from that character comes from my dark side, the parts of me that I don't understand. I kind of created an alter ego, wrote about him. All those thoughts that I have that I'm scared or afraid to express openly, I created a character that would without shame. And that way I can observe him, kind of like a scientist, watching a creation. But Arcana became a man of his own. Arcana, of course, means mystery.
Okay.
So all those mysterious things about myself, I personified, turned into a person, and let it have a life, and I wrote its life. That's how Emperor Felix Arcana came to be.
Gotcha. Now, Emperor Arcana is parts of you. How about his friends and family within the story as well? Do they also come from parts of your life?
They do. They are major influences on many of the characters. But also, some of the characters are archetypes from the tarot. You know, a lot of the title, Pentacles itself, is a suit in the tarot deck. And it's about prosperity and wealth and providing protection, and it's also for earth signs. So, a lot of the characters I matched to those archetypes. People I knew, who seemed like a Hierophant, who seemed like a priestess, who seems like the Empress. And I just matched them to those archetypes. Now, some people I had to create in order to get the story more flow. But for the most part, these people have influenced the story, the people in my life.
Okay. And how long have you been into tarot?
Actually, I started the story before I got deep into tarot, because a lot of the story is largely or mostly based on my life. I started writing the story in 2018 when I was traveling out west. And so that's why in the book you see the Emperor travels out west. And that's when I said, I need to be telling my story. I need to be documenting this somehow. Tarot came to me when I started writing about my travels going out west. Because I was looking for some answers as far as what's going on with me, what other reasons am I headed out west for? So I got into tarot just by accident. Well, I won't even say accident, nothing's an accident. It just kind of came to me while I was listening to music on YouTube. And a tarot reading came up in the play, and it was saying exactly what I was doing. And that's what drew me in. And ever since then, I just did so much research on it. And I said, I'm going to build my story based on that small experience. And it turned into a whole book and something bigger than I am.
Yes, sir. Now, this seems like a perfect location to ask this question.
Shoot.
How do you feel with the current pandemic going on that Emperor Arcana would handle such a thing? Like, would that even exist in Arcana?
Well, keep in mind, Arcana is a fairy tale land. It's a land of fantasy now, but in Arcana, if there's any impending danger or epidemic or any disturbance in the nation's well-being, there will be visions or downloads that will be received by the High Priestess or the Empress or the Hierophant, and they would, as soon as they get that message, that vision comes to them, they will alert the Emperor, and he will go to his alchemist, and the alchemist will summon whoever else he can to come together and put out some major light work, some energy work, some mass meditation, where, of course, the farmers will begin to, get with the medicine women of the nation and come up with some concoctions and medications and tonics and tinctures. But basically, most of that epidemic will be taken care of spiritually. in that fantasy land, which I wish wasn't fantasy, and it doesn't have to be. We're just not there yet collectively. But I do believe that we are returning to a lot of the old ways of trying to be more preventive in these things, watching what's coming. You know, foresight is 2020, not just hindsight. You can see what's coming.
Yeah.
Just don't trust yourself enough. Trust yourself and you'll see it. Like these are like perfectly made steps. This was used for something else. You know, this being the year 2020, do the numerology on it, it equals to 4. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 4 is the Emperor's card, so this technically is the year of the Emperor. So it's perfect for this book to be coming out at this time. It seems like a number of order, you know? 4 walls, 4 corners, structure. That's what an Emperor represents, you know? A foundation. Order. Like all of this out here, even though it looks like chaos, chaos is another form of order. These trees know when to die, they know when to come back. The sun knows when to come up and down. All of this stuff has a grand order to it, man.
Now with the release of Pentacles, what do you hope? What is the effect that you hope that Pentacles has on its readers, its receivers?
A major theme of Pentacles is hopes and fears. And I tried to get into everybody's fears, put it in a book. You know, some of the storylines go, what if there was a one world religion? What if there was a gay agenda? What if there was technology taking over the world? What if, now I know this sounds crazy, but just what if what we call black people here, but in Amakana, they're Amakanans, what if they decided just to take over and enslave the whites, or in Amakana, the Cartosians? What if that whole story was flipped over, and now we have abolitionists fighting to free the whites? What if we had that? What if it just hurt our hearts to see, I don't know, a Chad or somebody just getting whooped for not picking enough cotton at the Emperor's behest? What if we had that going on? So if all those fears we had, what if who we thought our enemy was, what if they truly were in a position to take over the world and make it their way, make it in their image? So that's what the storylines are in Pentacles. They are basically a culmination of different nations' fears. The funny thing about hopes and fears is that a lot of times the things people fear, deep down they kind of hope it happens so that their fear is justified. So that's why hopes and fears is the main theme of Pentacles, and I want to draw attention to it. I want to see how we've advanced as a civilization. Can we really handle letting other people live their lives? Can we really do that? It doesn't look like we can. Every day, someone finds something to be mad about. And it's always usually something you have no business even knowing about.
Something to control.
That's right, somebody else's life. Like, you want to get so deep into somebody else's life, and like you just skimming the top of yours. You haven't even read your whole instruction manual to your life. Don't even know how to use half the functions of your body. You're trying to make somebody else control theirs.
Right.
So Pentacles is all about, what if your fears came true? What if there was an actuation of everyone's agenda? Just what if you had this one thing, one wish fulfillment, and it would just make the world in your way? And so that's what the Emperor is fighting for. He wants to make the world his way, which would be to take it back to a time of peace that exists in ancient Amakana, where he had his old life.
Right.
But that would take all the other surrounding kingdoms back in time to before they were in power, and they don't want that. So they all want this Wheel of Fortune, this Orb of Fortuna, to get this power to make the world their way. And that's the culmination of hopes and fears. People hope to make the world their way, and others fear that they will.
New perspectives. Now, this reminds me of the Emperor's journey on his way to find out more information about the Orb of Fortuna and how he had to kind of hide out because he didn't want his real identity to be revealed to everybody, because it's just dangerous. If you met the Emperor in a situation like that, he's traveling through the lands and trying to be hidden, and you came up towards him, would this be a friendly exchange, or would that depend? I mean,
it depends on when you meet him. Definitely on the way to find the Orb of Fortuna, he would not have been friendly because you would have been a threat. Simply because he wanted to get the Orb of Fortuna safely, knowing that everyone else around him wants it. Yeah, it wouldn't have been friendly. But once he attained it, he may have been a little nicer. I mean, his wishes were granted. At the same token, he's willing to protect it.
right.
You will always be in danger around the Emperor, but it's of certain degrees.
Understood. And then the Orb of Fortuna. What does that represent in real life?
Wish fulfillment. It's basically wish fulfillment. The Wheel of Fortune, Orb of Fortuna, is a card in the tarot deck. And that wheel, if it turns a certain way, things in your life are going your way. Turn in reverse. If it turns in reverse, then things are unraveling. Not necessarily going exactly how you would like, but still, things can only go where they're intended to go.
Right.
Intent is destiny. Whatever you intend, that's where you end up. That's your destiny. That's your destination. It's going to start on the inside. You can't go anywhere out here unless it's in here first. So it kind of helps explain the lemniscate, the infinity symbol, that 8, as above, so below. Well, if you got it in here above, then so below will come out like from way up here. The alchemist, Omni, the character in the book, the alchemist, he has one hand pointed towards the heavens. That's basically like the mind, the ether. And then it translates through him the intent, and then it comes out into the world. And we all do that. Life itself is a mystic experience. The whole thing, from the moment you wake up in the morning, that right there is amazing because you didn't have to. I always say if you have a pulse, you have a purpose.
Right.
Right? And so you got to get out there and fulfill that purpose. I know it might be difficult for us now, but still there are things you can do at home. You're going to always move forward, no matter what's going on in your life. Your body is headed in one direction, and that's to return to the earth.
Right.
There you have certain missions to complete before then. So the Orb of Fortuna, that Wheel of Fortune, is our infinite will. That's our will. This is what we want to achieve. This is how we're going to get it. Let's do it. And it is done. So mote it be. So that's what all the characters in the book want. And personally, I feel like that's what everyone is searching for. Some Wheel of Fortune, some tool of wish fulfillment. You are the tool of wish fulfillment. Your intent, your ambition, your will, that ichor in your veins, the blood of the gods in your vein. Like that's your tool of wish fulfillment. As long as you have the blood to give to your dreams, then you can make those dreams definitely your life and reality, actuality. You know, dreams are free movies. You don't get paid unless you act.
Didn't see that.
Uh-oh.
Now, I know we're right at the beginning of Pentacles release, but I must ask, are there plans for the future installments already in place? Has anything began yet as far as actually being written out?
Actually, when I started writing Pentacles, it was under a different title. And there was a chapter that just didn't fit in this book, which seems like the beginning of another book. So I'll just leave it at that.
Got you.
Without giving, because if I give you a solid answer, that might give away a solid ending.
Right. I understood.
But there was something written before Pentacles was finished that sounds like the beginning of something else. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Now, with all the mysticism, excuse me, I'm sorry, I got distracted out here chasing butterflies and such. With all the mysticism in Pentacles, are there books that you might have read in your past that kind of influenced some of this? That you could, that's top of mind that you could speak on?
More than books, there have been people. And I don't know if I can mention their names, but they have introduced me into, I guess, what we call, and I hate to use this term, dark arts, But yeah, I've been more hands-on with certain people. They've just simply just showing me the power of writing a note to myself and putting it under a candle and then watching those events unfold if I keep moving in a certain direction. They taught me that writing was something mystic. Writing, spelling, cursives, spells, things like that. These things all come in together.
Right.
But I haven't read any grimoire. No magic books or really books on mysticism, because I've worked with actual people that really get deep into it. And to me, that was more beneficial than actually reading the books. Am I against it? No, people need to read those. I just haven't. I've been more into like self-help books and things like that. But I should pick up some grimoires and see like the Codex Gigas, something like that.
That's a new one for me.
What'd you say?
That's a new one for me.
Sometimes people call it the Devil's Handbook or the Devil's Bible. Supposedly it was written by some monk. Maybe, don't get me wrong, maybe somewhere in Russia. We'll correct that later if I'm wrong. Or where it was right now is not that important. But what it is this guy, like the devil came to him and said, I'll help you finish this. Help you finish writing this. And in an instant, thousands of pages were written according to the law. But it has like one of the first visuals of the devil and all these things that is just like one of the forbidden books.
Yeah.
But I've actually had hands-on experience with people that have shown me that they can manipulate the natural and make it something supernatural. I've seen some crazy things, man, that you probably won't find in a book.
Yeah.
Something that probably should stay sacred and not put in a book where someone else can get their hands on it, because there's no telling what people could do.
Absolutely. Great power.
But I mean, every human being is capable of mysticism. There's a saying, something like there's two types of people, mystics or mistakes. I know that sounds harsh.
Wow.
I know that sounds harsh, but I mean, everybody is capable of mysticism. It's just tapping in to those parts of yourself that most people ignore.
Absolutely.
Like we all have, our bodies communicate in ways we don't understand. Like there's probably 3 or 4 languages being spoken right now. And we're in total communication with everything around us. That's the only way we can exist here. So this whole life is a mystic experience. I know we touched on that before. But if we just open our eyes to it and give ourselves a chance to exist in the other dimensions, then we'd be able to utilize those parts of ourselves a little more. It's not dark until you pull it. It's not dark until it's compared to something light.
Absolutely.
Other than that, it's just unknown.
Yeah.
It's just getting in touch with the unknowable and just accepting the unknowable for what it is. Let it come through you and you'll see a whole mystic experience before your eyes. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Reading this definitely gave me new sight and perspective on life.
Thank you. Writing it gave me a new perspective. You know, a lot of times, you know how you're driving and you may feel like you're falling asleep, and you wake up or you come to or whatever, and you're down the road a good ways and you don't realize how you got there.
Oh yeah.
A lot of times writers experience that, where we just kind of go into some mode, some trance even, to where it just flows, you know.
Right.
And it comes out, and then you go back and read it, and you're like, damn, I wrote that? That's pretty that's pretty good.
The flow.
Maybe you didn't write it. Maybe you were just a medium for something else
You received it.
to come through you. And that's a wonderful thing too. I'm always open to reaching up and coming down with some idea. Always. I mean, a lot of our thoughts were thought of before we were thought of. Like they say, there's nothing new under the sun.
Right. It's all
So-
in the ether.
Yeah,
The Akashic Records.
that's right. That's right. That's a good part in the book. I don't want to keep telling parts,
Oh yeah, no.
but yeah, you can access your Akashic records, the Akash, and someone else can access yours if you're not careful. So you better be careful. Keep a guard on it.
Act quickly is something I've learned personally.
That's right.
If you feel something that strongly, move on it, because it's gonna be moved on real quick if you don't.
That's right. The thoughts are above our head. It's just up. Just grab one and run with it. Yeah, this was a quarry of mine or something. It looks like ancient ruins or future ruins. It's still gonna become this, you know.
Perspective.
That's right. I mean, anytime you look in the mirror, you're traveling through time. That face of yours doesn't really belong to you. That nose, those lips, are thousands of years old. And it will be reclaimed by the earth. It's going to go back to the earth. And it's going to come back again to someone else. So I'm starting to blur the lines between past and future.
It never existed anyway.
That's right. As far as I'm concerned, we're all ageless. We're all timeless.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
Agreed.
if we are beings of love, then love itself is deathless and has no concept of time. So neither do we. Love is the atmosphere. You can only operate inside of that atmosphere. If you can't, you're going to choke to death. If you can't operate in the atmosphere, you're gonna choke out. And that's how people are falling off. If they can't, right now with this new wave of energy we got coming right now, if you're not gonna be able to operate in it, you're gonna fall to it. You're gonna fall to it. So may you become one with what's going on around you.
They coexist.
That's right.
There. Any final remarks you wanna leave with the people?
If you have a pulse, you have a purpose. If there's anything I've said, I want people to know that. Remember that. If you have a pulse, you have a purpose. And if you don't know what to do with your life, or if you don't know what your purpose is, find someone to help. Find someone who's trying to make it somewhere. And I promise you, in that journey, you will also find your own. But just remember, any day you wake up, you have some value to express and give to the world, because we need you. We need the best parts of you, and that's the best thing you can do for me, is be the best you that you can be.
Peace, peace, peace. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question, if you don't mind answering the question.
Ask away.
How do you feel, since you've read the book, how do you feel people are going to be impacted by it? Is it controversial enough to get their attention?
I would say it depends on their background.
Okay.
If this is the type of content that they already kind of feed into, they would definitely get introduced to some new things.
Right.
Still, but if it's not what they're used to, if it's not their daily, routine and researching,
Right.
or content to research, the subject of research, that's a good question. Some people might run, some people might run to it.
Right. Right. Well, I want them to do both.
Exactly.
If you need to run from it, then run from it. But you're going to end up running right into the things you're running from. You can't escape what's meant to be. I'm telling you, there's something about this life here. You cannot escape what is meant for you. That saying they have, what, you can run but you can't hide?
Exactly. It's for you, it's for you.
That's right.
Now you say the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
I have not heard this.
Well, I thought about it when we were trying to see that butterfly up close.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about how they go into they have the cocoon, that phase of life. It's kind of like a human's dark night of the soul, where they're going through some tough times. It's like a tower moment, which is a theme in tarot, where everything you built comes down so that you have a chance to rebuild better than you built. And so that's what look at how that caterpillar comes out as a butterfly. Every human being has that opportunity. It's not hiding. That's one time you're not hiding. You put yourself in a transformation ship, not a relationship. You're in a transformation ship, and you're going into this inner world where you can come out being everything that you saw on the inside. Now you're bringing it out. The life you desire is right out there inside of you. That lemniscate comes back. It's right out there inside of you. Also, the zero is kind of an infinity symbol too when you think about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't end, and it's above and below. But I think in life we go with that figure 8 because we do have more twists and turns. It just can't be this easy for us.
Right.
We have to have some of this. And because pain is a great teacher for most of us. But yeah, the dark night of the soul, that's when we experience our little tower moments, but we have the opportunity to come out shining like we've been put through that fire for. So don't run from it. Don't be afraid of your fears. Don't be afraid of your fears. Get out there and face them. Use them, because fear is going to be like a GPS guide for us. It's really trying to navigate us. When we're afraid of something, we're being shown something else. So just use it. It's not that you're not going to be scared. You just are going to utilize that fear.
Yeah.
You're going to optimize it and make it work for you, not work against you. Just don't confuse confidence for clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Get clear first, and then your confidence will come. And then get out there and do what you have to do to be who you came to be. And leave no room for debate about it.